Viewers, Times Now has accessed an undated series of videos that show you very actively the scenario in Ladakh. Now, what exact sector this is, from when this video is, we'll give you an update in just a few seconds, but look at these pictures. These pictures show you Indian and Chinese troops talking to each other. They don't seem to be, at least on the face of it, in a belligerent mood. They are obviously discussing the situation and the issues which arise out, obviously, conflicting claims along the LOC, which is our territory, which is their territory, and therefore these conversations need to be taking place. But these are pictures that have come. It's the first on-ground pictures of the scene there. Even as we speak, I want to go straight across to Sohail, as well as Srinjoy Chaudhary. Sohail, first to you. These pictures, undated videos, obviously, but look recent enough, given the fact that all these individuals, especially on the Chinese side, are wearing masks. Obviously, this has been a video that is extracted in the recent few weeks after, of course, the COVID outbreak. What are these pictures actually telling us? Because here, there is no indication of some of that tension that we are known to have seen.
Well, these videos are from, it's actually the Galwan Valley, and the river that is in Galwan Valley, it's actually along the Shayok River. So the aggression is, of course, building, but what we have seen in these, in the videos, the personnel of the Chinese army as well as the Indian army have been seen talking to each other, and in fact the Chinese army personnel are also saying that they have been directed by the higher authorities for the patrolling in the Galwan Valley, and the Indian army officers are talking to them, and these are definitely the undated videos, but it clearly shows that these videos are from the recent past, maybe 2 weeks ago. But yet no aggression. But yes, what we have seen is that both the personnel from both the armies, whether it's Chinese armies or Indian army, they are talking to each other. And yes, in certain parts of eastern Ladakh, aggression is growing up. But the videos we have accessed, in these videos, all we have seen
which is heartening. So, which is heartening, because what is required, of course, are calm heads and negotiations. And we are being told, Srinjoy, that at different levels there is contact being made. And this, of course, is at the commander level, most probably. Here are some of these pictures, and we can see the terrain very clearly in these pictures.
Rahul, there is absolutely no doubt that there is contact on between, not only at level. This is between level or major general level. Also at the diplomatic.
Okay, we are having a few problems with your audio, Srinjoy, but yes, there are talks going on at different levels, the diplomatic level as well as, of course, the military level. Commanders are speaking. There is, of course, an entire chain that has been put in place to guard against such an eventuality such as these. And those mechanisms that have been put in place do kick in from time to time. We saw that in Doklam, and we saw that before that. So there is a formal mechanism that kicks in to ensure that a situation doesn't escalate to the point where you have open hostility. These pictures seem to suggest that at least at the troop level, this mechanism is kicking in. Hopefully, we will see a de-escalation on the Chinese side sooner than later. Remember, India has matched the Chinese positions, the Chinese force levels, pretty much man to man. And what you're seeing here is evidence of that. A huge number of Indian troops, all of them well equipped, in good spirits. You can see some of them smiling and looking back at the camera, taking selfies also. So this is an important a very visible indicator, viewers, of the proximity of the Chinese troops and the Indian troops. But what is good is that there is a conversation going on there between the two sides. And they're definitely talking about the boundary lines and their positions, and you can see from the gestures that are being made. We move on, viewers. We move on because we are now reporting at times now super exclusive, a big story. There's no limit, viewers, to opportunism. A group of Khan market intellectuals and Congress sympathizing Modi bashers have begun an insidious campaign to use the imagery and narrative building in the United States on the back of the African-American anti-racism protest to incite Indian Muslims here at home. Now, this group is urging Indian activists to mobilize Muslims under the banner Muslim Lives Matter, just like the Black Lives Matter campaign in the United States of America. And you can see those pictures, viewers, in the middle of your screens. They come out of Boston. There are a large number of protesters out on the streets protesting violently against what they believe is institutionalized, state-sponsored racism against the black community in America, and a large number of activists in Lutyens, in this ecosphere, this leftist ecosphere, and of course the pseudo-liberal space, the pseudo-secularist space, who are coming out and saying that, well, if African Americans can be mobilized in such large numbers, why aren't groups here in India mobilizing Muslims? And let me take you through some of these individuals and their tweets. This is Ashok Swain, an academic, and he works, of course, in Sweden, we are told, and he says India needs US-like mobilization to oppose extrajudicial killings of Muslims. So for him, there are extrajudicial killings of Muslims happening in India. So here it is, viewers. You use the parallel of the Black Lives Matter campaign launched in the United States. You use that parallel, you try to draw analogies, and then you try to create and malign India's image, and you create this sense of victimhood, saying that there are extrajudicial killings of Muslims happening, and India needs US-like mobilization to oppose the extrajudicial killings. In case he doesn't know, I just want to point out the visuals that we are getting from America today, viewers. Devastating scenes of violence. The violence has even reached the White House. Obviously, President Trump is worried, and he has even come out and said that certain groups who are inciting these riotous scenes will be prosecuted under American laws. So there is a categoric step being taken by US President Donald Trump on the back of activism, which many people say may not be misplaced, but is certainly mislabeled, and also, of course, violent, which it need not be. Rana Ayub is another individual, and she is, of course, targeting Bollywood. Rana Ayub, we can pull out her tweet. She says, so are starlets who did not even whisper about the anti-Muslim carnage in Delhi, the spate of lynchings, the citizenship bill, the arrests of academics and intellectuals, are today, in fact, looking at the America and the American situation. And why aren't they coming out and whispering about the anti-Muslim carnage in Delhi? So that's what Rana Ayub is using, again, the backdrop of that violent protest to try and incite Muslims. Omar Abdullah, the National Conference chief, says, takes courage to bring cowardice to the fore when you tweet for US lives and not Indian lives. Kavita Krishnan, another activist, why tweet on US protests but stay silent on institutionalized Islamophobic violence in India? So viewers, look at the way this narrative is being built. Umar Khalid, ex-JNU student, he's come out and said, outrage about what happened with George Floyd, but do you even remember Faizan? So, direct parallels being drawn here. Activists, Muslims are being urged to come out onto the streets and protest, made to think that they're victims in an Islamophobic country, and they believe that that country is India. Now, viewers, this isn't the first time that the Muslim groups have been incited to think that they are second-class citizens, they're discriminated against by the state. The first instance, and these are hard facts being put out, viewers, on Times Now, the Award Wapsi Brigade accused India of becoming intolerant. The second instance, Not in My Name campaign launched, citing a threat to Muslims. This was when there had been a couple of lynchings, which many people linked to opportunistic crimes. The third instance was a group of intellectuals claimed people lynched in the name of Ram, that Jai Shri Ram was being weaponized by the RSS and by saffron terrorists. That's the word they used. The other instance, viewers, is the Supreme Court accused of promoting majoritarianism. Can you believe it? After the Ayodhya verdict, they said that even the Supreme Court was promoting majoritarianism. Madhav Das Gopalakrishnan also on this broadcast. Madhav, how do you see this?
Well, Rahul, the biggest question is that can there really be any comparison between the situation that exists in the United States today and that within India? Now, you have obviously put out a whole list of such instances where there have been these orchestrated campaigns, whether it's Award Wapsi,
yes,
whether it's Not in My Name. Clearly, these have been campaigns, and once again, there seems to be a clear attempt to try and build up this kind of a campaign on what one would say is a rather false pretext. And the pretext is that in America, all that is taking place is in response to the history of oppression, to the history of racism that existed within that country. There was a time when blacks could not even vote, and that's very radically different from the constitutional protections that any religious group enjoys here in India. There is absolutely no question of the state discriminating against any one particular religion, as is seen unfortunately in the United States. And can we therefore compare the kind of race-based discrimination to what happens over here in India? There's absolutely no comparing that.
The experience for minorities in America, very different, Vivek, from the experience of minorities in India. Let me also jog your memory. The OIC very recently said India is a multicultural society and home to over 200 million Muslims. Alleging rising Islamophobia in India would be factually incorrect. This was the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Countries, telling of the same cabal. Vivek.
The allegation that the Muslim community in India is being discriminated against is nothing but an imagination of this group. If you go through the thread of thoughts of these individuals, there is a unanimity among all of them. There is a loose connect among all these people. They have been tweeting pictures, they have been putting out pictures of Kashmiri children, saying Palestinian children, claiming they are Kashmiris. There are people who are coming out with false facts that Muslim children are being beaten by police in Bihar, wrong videos being tweeted. Well, it is these people, some of them even living outside India. We need to check on what this thread is, why these people are so vehemently and virulently anti-India, not anti-Hindu or anti-Muslim, but anti-India is something that we need to check out.
Yes, well, you put it in the right context at a certain level. There seems to be a concerted attempt to malign the polity in India. I just want to open this out very quickly. Thank you, Madhav and Vivek. I just want to open this out. It's a big story, viewers. This is a big, insidious attempt at dividing our country and making one particular community feel that they are the victims of institutionalized state oppression and discrimination. This is very, very serious. And these individuals are going out there, they are massively followed, very powerful influencers of the discourse. Some of them were behind the protests that we've seen in Jamia, anti-CA protests, and also, of course, the protests that raged before the Delhi riots. So, viewers, this same axis is coming together again. And I want to bring in, I just want to go straight across, first, to Mr. Srivastava on this show. I also want to bring in Atikur Rahman. Atikur Rahman, do you subscribe to this view that that Muslims are at some level or the other institutionally discriminated against in this country?
Well, Rahul, look at the story you ran, and Madhav Das then later on said that the history of America and the discrimination against the blacks there. So may I also point out the history of the RSS and the BJP government which follows the RSS. The entire government of the BJP based on the ideology of the RSS, the history of the RSS shows you how they are anti-minorities and anti-Muslims.
One second. No, 1 minute. We are talking in historical terms here. 1 minute.
Allow me to
1 minute.
complete, Rahul,
Atikur Rahman, 1 second. 1 second. I need to step in. Is the state under Modi discriminating against Muslims, denying them state resources? Are the policies directed against the Muslims or designed to leave out Muslims? Are in fact the courts, according to you, and you will perhaps say this, are the courts militating against Muslim interests? Was the Ayodhya, Babri Masjid, Ram Janam Bhoomi dispute born out of some bias, no 1 minute, against the Muslim community?
And anti-Muslim. The environment which the government is creating in the nation is
Vivek
anti-minority and anti-Muslim.
You can tilt at windmills here. You can tilt at windmills here. Okay.
No,
the environment that you are creating is one, sir, which will fuel anarchy. No, I didn't speak to you. 1 minute. Vivek Srivastava, I didn't address this question to you. I was talking to Atikur Rahman first. So don't butt in.
Okay.
Yeah,
don't butt in.
Okay.
I'm not in some Chinese gulag here, okay? Or some Russian communist gulag, where you can come here and you can railroad and beat me down.
The government's line.
It will not happen here, Vivek Srivastava.
Stop doing some honest journalism.
You're not some. You're not some.
You don't
1 minute.
have to toe the line
You are not some red
Modi every
terrorist
time.
sitting in this.
This government
You're not some red terrorist, okay?
And anti-minority.
You are not some red terrorist, so don't show me attitude. You understand?
The Nazi
I have not asked you the question, so keep quiet.
And it is against
So
the
keep quiet.
Constitution
I
of
haven't
India.
asked you the question. I'll come to you and you will be asked the question.
Rahul, allow me,
let's see
please.
when you come.
Atikur Rahman, yes.
Rahul, allow me. Yes. So you pointed out, the stand of the government and the institutions of India, how they are not against the minorities and the Muslims. Now, may I point out to you the cosmetic changes the BJP brings in, showing that we are pro-Muslim or pro-minorities.
Sir, I'm not going to allow you to spread hate. Now, 1 minute. Let me talk about, you want to talk about incidences? Let's talk about incidences. No, let's talk about minorities getting, no, 1 second. Let's talk about minorities. You want to talk about minorities? Let's have that conversation. 1 second, Atikur Rahman. You tell me who was in power. 1 minute. You tell me who was in power, both at the state and at the center, when there was a genocide of Kashmiri Hindus. You tell me, 1 minute. You tell me who was in power when there was a pogrom against the Sikhs in 1984. You tell me who was in power, 1 minute, at the state level when there were the Chhattis Singh Pura killings in the state of Jammu and Kashmir in 2000, the Chamba massacre of Hindus in 1998, Doda massacre of Hindus in 2006, Amarnath Yatra attack in 2017, the Palghar killings. Who was in power at the state level? You explain to me before you start talking about victimhood. Before you talk about 1 minute, 1 minute, sir.
Prove you are wrong. 30 seconds and I'll prove you are wrong.
Go ahead, sir. You answer these questions I've asked you. Who was in power? 84, pogrom against Sikhs. Who was in power?
Subsidy to the criminalization of a civic affair, the triple talaq. The same Supreme Court ordered the government to make a law on lynching.
Sir, there were Muslims. There were Muslims on those panels. There were Muslims on those panels, sir. Listen to me. There were Muslims on those benches. 1 minute. There were Muslims on those benches, and there were individuals. There were individuals, sir, who don't even subscribe. 1 minute. Who, by the admission of the Lutyens lobby, don't subscribe to the so-called BJP view, the so-called RSS view. So don't spread mischief here. Let me tell you. This is what the OIC said. Now, 1 minute.
I think Rahul is poor.
Tell me something. Atikur Rahman, tell me. Do you believe that the OIC is wrong when it says India is a multicultural society and home to over 200 million Muslims and alleging rising Islamophobia in India would be factually incorrect?
I, as an Indian Muslim,
tell me,
very much equipped to
is the OIC wrong? Is the OIC wrong when it makes this observation? जवाब ही नहीं देंगे भाई साहब. What kind of debate can we have when these individuals will not even respond to a question you ask them? You ask them a sensible question and they go off on their rant. You see, now viewers, in a society where minorities, 1 minute, can I finish? In a society where minorities are supposed to be treated like the blacks were in America in the 60s and 50s and 40s. Listen to me, Atikur Rahman, I'm going to shut him down now if you're going to keep blaring forth. If that was the case, you wouldn't be on national TV. You wouldn't have a platform. You wouldn't be sitting in the same bus. You wouldn't be allowed into restaurants. Okay? And let me tell you, listen, stop shouting over me. And this Vivek Srivastava, who represents the CPIM, that derives its ideology from China.
No, I don't.
You see, minorities like Atikur Rahman in China will never be sitting on national TV accusing the Chinese Communist Party of bias. You know where they would be? They would be in concentration camps. Do you see that? Can you condemn it? Can you condemn what China does to Uyghurs?
Listen to me carefully.
No, you can't. Because you, sir, owe your existence to the Chinese Communist Party. And you drive a narrative in this country to weaken this country and divide it. I want to bring in Shahzad Poonawalla before I make this political. Shahzad Poonawalla, come in here. Come in here. You're also an Indian Muslim. You go on national TV. You're an anchor in your own right. Would a Muslim like you be allowed to speak his mind in any country? In any country, 1 second, in any country, even within the OIC grouping, and take on the Indian state or their own state? You tell me.
No, it is for the Muslims of India.
The only person threatening my freedom to speak are Vivek Srivastava and Atikur Rahman. The only people who are threatening my freedom to speak are the so-called secularists. Mr. Vivek Srivastava and Atikur Rahman, give me only 30 seconds. If you believe I'm an Indian Muslim, let me articulate my voice. Don't shut me down, please.
And the RSS. But you don't represent
Vivek Srivastava, I'm going to have to lower your fader.
You
the
told the
questions are
communist
asked of
line.
you can't answer them, then you interrupt other people, you derail the debate. Shut him down. Shut him down.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Shahzad Poonawalla.
Thank you, Rahul. Rahul, my simple question today to all of these so-called pseudo-secularists. Did Muslim lives matter in Bhagalpur? Did they matter in Hashimpura? Did they matter in Mumbai 1992, in Ahmedabad 1980s, in Delhi? If it mattered, why didn't you speak up then? Today, the only thing that Rana Ayub and her ilk sitting on the panel, they have debit card, credit card, and these victim cards, as my friend Anand Ranganathan would say. Here I want to tell you, Rahul, what is the strategy? From 370 to triple talaq to corona to every issue, it's made into a Hindu-Muslim binary, including the Delhi riots. You target the Jamatis, you call out the Jamatis, you become an Islamophobe. Even Pakistan was doing it, but that they do not consider. They do not say a word against China, which is killing millions of Muslims. The point is that the likes of Rana Ayub, and this is what the the Supreme Court of Delhi said about her, all that her book is based on is suppositions, conjectures and surmises and has very little evidentiary value. Frankly, that is the career of Rana Ayub. Frankly, that's the career of Rana Ayub surmised in that judgment. So the point that I'm trying to make is only this. 6 Muslim countries, including Saudi Arabia and UAE, give their highest civilian honor to Mr. Modi. I want to ask Atikur Rahman, are they wrong? Is Saudi Arabia not a custodian of Muslims anymore? Is UAE wrong?
Well, they are not.
So, Mr. Atikur Rahman, please sometimes put your country before your dharma. Put your community after your country, sir. Sometimes. Think from the perspective of Desh, not Dal and not Qaum.
Arif Iqbal, you're a lawyer. Hopefully you will be speaking in a restrained and sensible tone tonight.
I generally do.
Okay,
I generally do.
Good. So then we can have a conversation. M.R. Venkatesh is also here. Amit Malviya is also here. These are people who have a brain. And therefore, let's have an educated conversation.
Thank you for
Arif
telling
Iqbal,
me.
let me tell you. OIC members, this is what they said. India is a multicultural society and home to over 200 million Muslims. Alleging rising Islamophobia in India would be factually incorrect. Islam existed in India for centuries and it's the second largest religion. India has forged strong alliances with most powerful Islamic countries and the Prime Minister himself has been honored by these OIC countries. Now, would these OIC countries be honoring an individual who discriminates against Muslims? It makes no sense, does it?
So on April 19, the OIC also said something which I would like to read it out. I'm sorry if somebody else is also speaking, because we are doing it on WhatsApp and Skype. It's so difficult to listen to others. I was quiet when the others were speaking.
No one is speaking, sir. You're imagining voices.
Speaking in the background.
These might be the voices of your conscience, which are telling you not to lie tonight.
Please.
But nonetheless, go ahead.
I am not here. If you want to do this, cheap rhetorics, don't call me. If
no one is speaking. I don't know what you're talking about. You're seeing ghosts where none exist. You're hearing voices where none do.
I am here to put out a reason why I come here. I'm reading out something. You hear me out.
Please go ahead.
On 19th, the same OIC said that we urge the Indian government to take urgent steps to stop the growing tide of Islamophobia in India and protect the right of persecuted Muslim minorities as per its obligation under the international human rights law. Now, hear me out. I don't agree with what they are saying. That is not my stand. But at the same time, let us understand, before you were talking of state, and you were saying that whether the state could be discriminatory or not. If you're saying that the state is all sacrosanct, so let us understand that in Constitution, Part 3, something is called the fundamental rights. The whole premise of fundamental right is based on the fact that the state can be discriminatory. The state can be your oppressor.
Which fundamental right has been denied to Arif Iqbal? Tell me.
No, at least let me complete, Rahul.
No, come on, tell me, answer the question. You brought it up. I didn't.
That is what I'm trying to tell you.
Which fundamental right?
It is presumed that the state.
The right to marry 4 times.
Which is why there are fundamental rights.
Is that the fundamental right you're worried about that has been deprived?
No,
I'm asking you. What fundamental right have you been deprived of? The right to marry 4 times? I'm asking you. I'm asking you, sir, the right to build a mosque. No, 1 second. The right to rebuild Babri Masjid on the Ram Janam Bhoomi. Is that a fundamental right for you? No, what has been deprived?
I'm asking a simple question.
Which fundamental right has been deprived?
Certain things, that is my problem.
Sir, which fundamental right has been deprived? Can you tell me? आप तो lawyer हैं. You're a lawyer. Tell me which fundamental right?
70 सालों में इतनी बार इतने केसेस हुए हैं मैं पॉलिटिक्स.
Which fundamental right? Tell me which fundamental right. Name me one fundamental right that you have been deprived of, sir.
कि स्टेट जो है वो
डिस्क्रिमिनेटिंग होता है. The state finances madrasas in this country. I'm asking you. It finances, it gives money, it gives aid, it gives benefits to seminaries. It was sending you for your hajjis.
Does not matter.
You tell me. Well, it doesn't matter.
You don't have to listen to them.
Which kind of discriminatory state, sir, would send those that are discriminated
let us understand
to do hajj? You tell me. Which state? Which state? Tell me which fundamental right. You name me one fundamental right that is denied to you, sir. Name me one.
At points there are certain fundamental rights
Arey bhai, batao na.
To every individual. And that
Mr. Amit Malviya is sitting here, he can answer you, but mention one fundamental right that has been denied to Arif Iqbal. A great lawyer, a budding great lawyer, a voice of the future. Tell me, which is the one right?
I'm telling you, you don't even understand. Suno to Rahul, at least listen people.
तो बताइए ना.
There are times. अच्छा मैं बोलूं. कभी ऐसा होता है कि
अरे कभी तो सर कुछ भी हो जाता है. Give me a concrete example. I'll tell you who has denied fundamental rights, sir. The right to justice. The Sikhs and the Hindus have been denied it. And you know where they've been denied it? And under whose regime they've been denied it? You name me one instance. Give me the instance. कभी लगता है. कभी तो सर ऐसा भी लगता है कि आप लोग नहीं कभी तो मुझे भी ऐसा लगता है सर कि आप लोग एक जानबूझ के साजिश रच रहे हैं. Anyhow, Amit Malviya, fundamental rights are denied to Muslims. कभी can you fill in the blanks? Take it upon yourself. Be honest. The Muslims want honesty, they say. So you can be honest. Since they can't cite an example. M.R. Venkatesh is also here.
How hard
Well,
you
Rahul,
head
very
down to
quickly,
understand what I'm saying.
first
It is
of
so
all,
simple.
whatever happening
If you really
in
want me to give
America
out the lecture
is a
to
matter
today,
that is internal to American politics and their history. It has no correlation with India. If at all you were to look at India's historical context, then you had the Mughal reign for 700 years where logically the Hindus were the oppressed lot. So if you really want to go by history, history tells you completely different story, which some of these leftists would not tell you. Now, what's happening in America is that a movement for justice for blacks has been completely hijacked by the
Hindus
far
were never
left.
an oppressed lot. It is the Dalits who
which
were oppressed.
stepped in the kind of violence and the kind
And
of
it is
loot
the
that we are
Dalits-
seeing is really not
It is
what
the
it
Dalits
is about.
who became a movement.
As far as even black lives are
And
concerned.
agitation
Now,
and
it is
peaceful
the lower
protest.
class,
India.
As a
Look
lower
at them.
constitution.
Look at
It is
them.
not a bad thing.
Look at them.
We had it in case of reservation.
Manoj,
We
We had it in case of
telling that the
commission.
Let
Muslims
them-
are being denied their rights.
And your government
उसके कान में
is
आप
anti-Muslim,
शीशा डाल
anti-minority.
देते हैं।
Arif
CAA was a
Iqbal,
bill
Arif
which was
Iqbal
anti-Muslim.
and Vivek Srivastava. First of all, I'll have to lower your faders because I can't shout over you. I'll lose my voice. I can't do it. You guys have become experts at getting into a gully and shouting. Okay, I can't do it. Okay, so I'm not going to. I'm not going to take this bait. So I'm going to tell you, viewers, something. Here in Kashmir, for 70 years, the fundamental right to free speech included demanding independence from India. 70 years. In fact, separatists, Kashmiri separatists, were part of dialogues. Those are the fundamental rights. In other countries, these individuals would have been locked up in jail and never released or deported. Those are the fundamental rights we are talking about. There are individuals, a particular state government sat on their case for 2 years and didn't give prosecution sanction. That is the over political correctness, M.R. Venkatesh, that we are dealing with here. Why don't you explain to our viewers?
Rahul, the matter is slightly complicated, and as Amitji rightly pointed out, you cannot draw what is happening into America and remove the blacks in the narrative and juxtapose the Muslims into this and say, look, the conditions is almost similar, and hence it has to have the same reaction or retribution. Samuel Huntington in his classic Clash of Civilizations pointed out that one of the biggest fault lines in the 21st century will lie with the Muslim countries and communities. Now, I asked a question to Atikur Rahman and others. Who is actually discriminating the Ahmadiyyas in Pakistan? Is it Narendra Modi government? Who is killing Shias in Saudi Arabia?
Don't go to Pakistan. India is a secular country in of India.
In India,
every religion, every entity is same. One person, one vote. Don't go to Pakistan. Don't go to Muslim countries, talk of India.
Listen,
See, the problem is
lower their faders. These people will not allow anyone to even pose a question. M.R. Venkatesh is not making an assertion, he's posing a question. Yes,
no,
M.R. Venkatesh.
Please understand, who is killing the Shias in Saudi Arabia? Is it the RSF? Who is killing the Sunnis in Iran? Is it the BJP? Is it the VHP? Is it somebody else? Look, the Islamic community is in war with itself. It is still evolving to be in a civilized state. It is only the benign touch of the Hindus in India that has made them civilizationally a wonderful community that has produced Bismillah Khan, the great Salam. And all these people are a product of the great Hindu Islamic civilization that we should be proud of. And that is what has been guaranteed under Part 3 of the Constitution. That is what has held them power. Without this benign touch of Hindu religion, culture, Islam would have been at war perennially with each other, killing itself, and that is why Islam is always having a problem, be it Madrid, be it London, be it America, be it any part of the world. So the problem lies with Islam has to do a great self-introspection into see why it is not civilizationally evolved into gelling with the modern contemporary world. Why is it that there is always a fault line that comes up wherever Islam comes into face with modern religions, modern societies, modern science? Everywhere you see that Islam is incompatible. That is a problem that we have to do a complete introspection.
Atikur Rahman, questions were asked of you by M.R. Venkatesh. Can you respond to them?
M.R., you are pinpointing to Islam. Just tell me the land of Buddha, India. Where are the Buddhists? The most, lesser population of Buddhists is found in only India, the land of Buddha. Who finished off all the stupas? Why don't you blame the Brahmins and the Brahminic ideology? Wherein you are pinpointing the civilization of Islam, having the fault lines here in Islam. Why don't you?
Sir, I have two words for you. Bamiyan Buddhas. I have two words for you, Bamiyan Buddhas. I have two words for you, Atikur Rahman, Bamiyan Buddhas. I have two words for you, Mr. Atikur Rahman, Bamiyan Buddhas. Bamiyan Buddhas. Bamiyan Buddhas. Who finished off the Bamiyan Buddhas? Can you tell me who finished off the Bamiyan Buddhas? Who drove the Parsis out of Persia? Tell me, who drove the Parsis out of Persia? Who drove the Parsis out of Persia? Who drove the Parsis out of Persia? Three questions, sir. My third question. Allow me. My third question. Allow me, sir. Allow me. My third question. I want to ask you, sir, who drove the Ahmadiyas out of Pakistan? Can you answer these three questions? Who brought down the Bamiyan Buddhas? Who drove the Parsis out of Persia? And who went out and drove the Ahmadiyas? 1 minute. Out of Pakistan. Three questions. Very simple, three questions. Three questions. No answers. No answers, viewers. You're not going to get these answers.
Rahul, just may I add one question?
No, all the answers
Rahul, may I
are
add
in
one
place.
question?
Yes. Tell me, Shahzad Poonawala.
Quickly.
And in this
Yes.
country,
Tell me.
Rahul, may I add one quick
question. Yes. Shahzad
Rahul,
Poonawala, I need to move on. Yes,
as per the Satchar committee report, as per the, just one question will take 10 seconds. As per the Satchar committee report, which is their gospel, the Muslims of Gujarat, ruled by BJP for the last 30 years, are 10 times in a more prosperous condition than the Muslims ruled by the left in Bengal, which was ruled by secular governments by the left and by Mamata. Who's responsible for that? You're talking about Black Lives Matter, which has an implication on their economic condition. Please tell me who is responsible for the dire economic social condition of Muslims in India. It is the Congress, it is the left, it is the pseudo-secular parties that have kept them in ghettos of poverty.
Well, viewers,
Oh,
this is
Mr.
a serious...
Arif Iqbal, please have the courage to call out what is wrong.
Okay, Amit Malviya, very quickly.
Arif Iqbal has enough courage and knowledge to call out what is wrong. You tell me a point where I have to call it out, and I will call it out.
Amit Malviya.
Victimhood in the Muslim community. Let's not forget our history. The Muslims who live in India have chosen this as their motherland when partition happened. So why is it that they can't accept that they are equal citizens here and come out of the victimhood narrative and start to prosper? After all, it has happened. They have grown and they have prospered.
You sideline your RSS ideology, Mr. Malviya.
Listen. We're going to go around in circles, viewers. I just want to frame these questions and move on to the next big story. Given that India's Muslims have never been disenfranchised or segregated in the manner that African Americans had in the past, and by some visible examples continue to do today, isn't the comparison by the lobby completely flawed? It's a question that you must ask yourselves, because these are very dangerous times, viewers. We have a very precarious condition. Economic downturn, COVID. What we need is a unified response. We can't fight it if there is an insidious attempt to pit Indian against Indian. That can't happen. It won't happen. We will never come together and we'll never come out of this. That's the reason why we are trying to expose this lobby that is spreading misinformation on a daily basis. And unfortunately, this particular lobby, its campaign is amplified by social media. A few days ago, we were talking about how social media also needs to be policed now. All sorts of unverified fakery is funneled into the minds of people. We've seen how election campaigns have been won and lost through social media and the influences. We've seen the Cambridge Analytica and the scandals associated with seeding people. And unfortunately, that is what we are witnessing today.